Everybody, okay. Wanted to try a really big airplane. I had got some white styrofoam, the really weak kind, that has very large beads and very low density. And I wanted to use it in this airplane, a 65-inch span. That's just how tall the piece of styrofoam was. It's multiple pieces from a refrigerator packing from a neighbor. Anyway, the challenge here is not really whether or not the airplane will fly. It definitely would fly, that I knew. The question was, could I make it strong enough and light enough for it to fly reasonably and not eat up the battery instantly, and with a single relatively low power motor. So that was the question. Anyway, the thing that was critical here is, as I mentioned, because this foam is exceedingly weak, the carbon fiber spar, it's actually two of them joined together with a metal rod in the middle. The metal rod diameter was slightly less than the inner diameter of the carbon fiber, so I put a little tape around it and it fit perfectly. So join them two together, put the carbon fiber rod behind the first step of this KF3 airfoil covered in tape, so it's kind of like a combination of KF3 and a kind of normal airfoil, and just put a couple of pieces of flat foam board at strategic locations to just hold the carbon fiber rod in place. And then the issue was, how was I going to get this thing into the car, because it's 65 inches, so I had to put it in the backseat, but then, through the trunk and put down the back seats, but then the tail boom with the tail feathers on it was going to be a problem. So, let me just turn this guy over. 1 second here. It's like kind of big and I'm smacking it around here. Alright. So I actually made a removable tail boom here. You just take out, if you can get it out, this pin here, and then this slides right out. Actually, I'm going to leave it in because I wanted to show a couple of things here. So the challenge here again was to get something that would stay stationary on this wing. But I didn't want to make any holes or anything in the wing because it's kind of weak foam to begin with. There's a lot of extra weight that ends up being added on because of all the servo extensions and a long tail boom, and to get a reasonable moment arm for the tail, it ends up being quite long. And what happened was, with this tail boom, is that I used a 3/8 inch square rod that does the job in terms of making sure the relation between the tail surfaces and the main wing is more or less stable, but in terms of torsion mostly, but in terms of back and forth motion of the boom relative to the wing, that has issues. You can't really see it here, but it does wiggle a bit. The elevator is quite effective, but the rudder is really not so effective. The airplane has really light wing loading, so it really does well in that respect. It can stay up there on the battery for a reasonably long time, considering its weight. It's almost 35 ounces. And I'm thinking of replacing the tail boom with carbon fiber. I was trying to avoid using another carbon fiber rod. They're expensive and hard to get. And I did a tractor here just because doing anything else would have been even more weight. I put on this wooden frame here around the body of the airplane, on bottom and on top, in such a way that I didn't have to drill, make holes, anything into the wing itself. And I had to mount everything up front here to get the proper CG, and I even had to put on a little bit of extra balancing weight here with these two AA batteries. You'll see from the short, very short flight video where I actually throw this plane into the air and let it take off. Just that's all there is to it. Because the rest of it, because the camera was in a fixed position, I didn't have someone filming. I didn't get much else. But anyway, there you can see that it flies fairly well. But it did not have these drooping leading edge cuffs on that flight, and I was noticing that that when you approached fairly high angle of attack, it would tip stall. I mean, not violently, but it definitely did tip stall. So I'm added on the